it's challenging to make a living as a musician or as a, speaking of musicians, wow, what a wonderful experience we had growing up with all the musicians that
Yeah,
came into
Sandy
town.
Monroe. Like if you were to say one person, I felt like Sandy Monroe was our Valley Pete Seeger. It
Yeah.
it felt like he was the guy connected with the roots, with almost anybody who came into town flowed through his music story, you know?
Oh, it was wonderful. And how about the gallery? You guys probably don't remember the gallery, but it was underneath the Little Nell,
Oh yeah.
and that's where the Eagles played for a winter
Yeah.
when Irving Azoff signed them to a contract, and he wanted them to, get their chops together.
Yeah.
So he had them play there for a winter. And I was in high school, and I had been taking classes at the Center of the Eye, so I had learned how to develop film. And so I made all the fake IDs for us in high school so we could get in and see the Eagles and JJ Cale and Hot Tuna and, just the amazing people. And then just, Black Pearl and Bobby Mason and Chris Cox and all those wonderful people who would also play down at Jake's Abbey. And the music scene was just really, really special in Aspen back in those days.
Yeah. It,
Jimmy
it,
Buffett, all the people that lived there, John
it
Denver.
yeah, I mean it was interesting because as a kid growing up, you'd hear someone playing and you'd stand there and listen to him, and the next thing you know is three or four people would be jamming away with someone that, it was all very collective,
Yeah.
I remember that with Sandy out on the mall. There was always a group of musicians out playing bluegrass.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or you
yeah.
also had all the kids from the MAA out there. I tell this story all the time, and people don't believe me, but I'm almost positive that I saw Sarah Chang out there solo violining right on the mall
You
with a
did.
case with
Absolutely.
probably 50 cents in it, and people walking by her like she did it. No idea who she was.
She was
It's
just a young girl then. And
yeah,
Joshua Hall, the
yeah.
Aspen Music Festival and all the people that came through there. Wow. I mean, the creme de la creme of classical music.
I also,
Yeah, you could always tell when the season was in because you'd see 1,000 people walking around with that violin hickey thing right on their neck
Oh,
from playing.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? From the
Yeah,
rosin
and
or
then
whatever.
walking through the West End and hearing them all
Yep.
practice,
Yeah.
the beautiful music coming out of the windows of people walking through the
Yeah.
West End. And
I remember getting super excited whenever you'd see those folks walking around. Just
the Melvilles
really
had
classical.
I think the Melvilles had a deal that so many of their rooms were allocated to students, and so there was, whenever you walked by the chalet at that time, you'd always hear
You're
like
hearing
some opera
practicing.
singer or all
Yeah.
kinds of different stuff going on,
yeah, it
Tuba
was just
blasting away.
wonderful. Yeah. I remember going into Pepke Park one day, and Ian Anderson was playing his flute. And
Really?
nobody knew who Ian Anderson was yet from Jethro Tull.
Right.
And there were only about like 6 or 7 of us listening to him. And, you could do that all over town with people,
Yeah.
well-known people now, but back then they had John Denver used to have his guitar case open in front of the post office, playing music. Or I had heard a story that there was this like Jack in the Box that he had created, and somebody would go in and put some money in, and he'd stand up and start playing
Yeah, I heard
different
about that.
songs.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about that. I like, which is interesting too, which was very the Aspen example, was the Def Camp Picnic. Because it was really whoever, first Sandy Monroe started it. I think first 2 years was Sandy Monroe. And then John Denver got so excited on the year 2 when he was part of it that he was like, let's just have a blast with this. So he basically, anybody who was in town came and sang. So you'd have Graham Nash and Stephen Steels and just everybody that was, whoever was in town. Fleetwood Mac, I think, even showed up a few times with Stevie Nicks,
Jimmy Buffett played, I think.
Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, I mean, and that to me was like an example of where it's very Aspen, and it was more open. And I feel like now it's gotten very VIP, like where you sit and who you are. You know what I mean? It's very different. Whereas before it was just pull up a blanket and sit down. You know?
I think the cost of admission was being able to find a parking spot somewhere within a mile. You know, that was it.
Exactly.
As long as you could walk with your blanket, you know.
Well, and then, so I'm thinking about Stevie Nicks, and she used to come and stay at Billy Moss's house. And I went to school with Billy and David Moss. And I went to school with them, and they, even though you would never have known it, they were really important in the music world. They were,
didn't they own the Paragon, or they curated?
They owned the Paradise.
Yeah. Oh, Paradise. Okay.
Yeah. And they, and Stevie Nicks actually wrote her very famous song, Landslide, at David Moss's house.
Oh, wow. And it was inspired by Maroon Bells, I think, right? There was one that hike coming down from the Bells. I thought
I think that's right, but I'm not sure. But I do know that some of the people that David Moss brought, and well, think of the Paradise. I mean, he brought Robin Williams before anyone knew who Robin Williams was.
Yeah.
And just, gosh, I'd love to look at the archives and see who the people were that he brought to the Paradise.
Sorry, go on, Andy.
I was going to say, I talked to him on Facebook, and he started sharing some photos with me of folks, and it was so awesome. He's on the back of a boat at Rudai with like Jimmy Buffett and a bunch of people and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He was definitely connected.
Dean, who co-wrote the book with us, he went to a New Year's at the Paradise, and I think it was most of Fleetwood Mac was up there, and then Eddie Van Halen jumped up on the stage, and I think Dean ended up dancing with Ali Sheedy or something. And I mean, it's just all these people that just show up and then just impromptu jump up there. I saw Billy Idol there. There was probably no more than, 300 people in that place. It was Billy Idol's rockabilly band, and then he just jumped up out of the crowd. And then Gary Busey, of all people, jumped up to sing with him a Buddy Holly song, because they knew each other from the motorcycle rehab accident thing or something. And it's just such a weird thing. People just show up, and these celebrities just jump up there.
I did see Fleetwood Mac. I snuck in the back because of that was used to be the Belly Up, right? Was the Paradise?
Yeah.
Well, the Paradise it's now the Belly Up, but it used to be the Paradise. Yeah.
Right. And so the Paradise, we used to sneak in through the back alleyway, because you go down the stairs and you could kind of go down that access ramp. And the Fleetwood Mac one was there. I can't remember which time, but I remember sneaking down in there. I was down around the back, and they're playing along, the whole group. They had everybody there, even Christy McVie and everybody. And then all of a sudden, it was like a whole jam session, because Jimmy Buffett got up there, Graham Nash got up there. I mean, everybody just started. There must have been like probably 15 different musicians up there playing and singing, and it was just amazing. I mean,
and they would include a lot of the local musicians to play.
Yes,
my daughter played with Blues Travelers, Roxy Cox.
Oh, cool.
And Chris Cox used to play with Buddy Miles, her father. And then Bobby Mason, and there were just so many. Buck Dean and Twerp Anderson and all of these local musicians who, graced us with their beautiful music through the years. Starwood, for example, David Holster and Bobby Carpenter, who plays with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band now, I think. And the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, they got their start really in Aspen, with Steve Martin opening up for them at a place called Rebecca's. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't remember the place, but I do remember the connection with Steve Martin. As a matter of fact, I think John was roommates or something with Steve Martin and taught him how to play banjo. Oh. And now Steve Martin is really good on banjo. If you've ever listened to him, he's
really awesome. Yeah.
He has an album out. Well, Rebecca's used to be in the Aspen Inn, and I think that the place was owned by Danny Wardwell.
Okay.
I think that that's right. And at the time, I wasn't 21 yet, but they would let myself and a friend of mine sneak in and watch them all. And it was just such a wonderful event,
You just reminded me of something. I think your daughter graduated from CRMS with my sister, Katie Pomeroy.
Well, she didn't graduate she graduated from Aspen High School.
Oh, did she? So maybe
she did go to CRMS up until
Okay.
her senior year.
I remember seeing her perform for something. I don't remember. The CRMS was doing something, and I was like, "This girl is amazingly talented." Holy smokes!
Yeah, she used
And
to
she
play
was
with
only
Tai Vare.
what, 17 or 16 or something. I don't know. She was really, really talented.
Yeah, she played up at Syzygy, and her dad, Chris Cox, would have all these younger kids, Tai Vare,
Yeah.
Jessica, but everybody knows her as Roxy, and some other, younger musicians would all play with her. Jason Perrin was in the band.
Oh yeah, Jason Perrin.
He
Yeah.
really wanted to support giving opportunities to the younger musicians in town. So he would start all these bands with these younger musicians.
It's funny, Tai Vare, I hired him to do the soundtrack for my project for Jurassic World. It was so awesome to work with him. It was so cool. He hasn't changed. He's still Tai Vare. It's awesome.
Yeah.